All right, NBL, welcome back to the Extra Point Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tom, and today I have with me Project Fat. And today we're going to talk about some things that are once again on the NBL cover here. First off, and at the forefront here, we have Texans. This team's really, they've been rising for a couple seasons. They've had a number one pick once. They were in the top 5 a couple times, but for the last couple seasons, we've really seen them emerge into a contender. Maybe not so much, for a Super Bowl or an AFC conference contender, but they're really competing for the division. They're giving the Titans a run for their money, and right now they're a game back. They're definitely in the hunt to take this division. Fat, do you think that they can do it this year?
Definitely, I think they can. And I know they just came off a loss against the Detroit Lions, but let's face it, I mean, that Lions team is really good, and they took that team down to the very end of that game. So, like you said before, this team has struggled early on, but the last couple of seasons they've really put together a team that they feel like can win, and I definitely think that this team can make the playoffs right now. One game behind those Indianapolis Colts, but they have some big games coming up towards the end of their schedule that I think could be a big difference maker and eventually get them into the playoffs.
Yeah, and speaking of that game with the Lions, I mean, the Lions are a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and the Texans really, if you guys had watched the game or anyone followed the game, they really had the Lions dead to rights. I mean, that game was, I think it was 16-3 with like 3 or 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was pretty much over, but the Texans just couldn't shut the door. They couldn't seal the deal, but they were that much away from beating arguably the number one team in the league right now. So, I definitely think they have a good chance to get into the playoffs here and win this division. So next up, let's move actually to the Lions division here. Talking about the Vikings now on the rise. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. Vikings are starting to heat up. Quarterback Mason Mark's finally doing a little better now. They're 5-6. Currently, they hold the second place in the division. This is, however, not a team that I see having the same kind of bright side that the Texans have. The Vikings, they've been in this position before where they're the second team in the division. They're kind of, sort of still in the hunt for the wild card. They're only a game back, but they're going to need to win some games, and I just don't see it happen. The problem with Minnesota, in my opinion, is they've just been very inconsistent. They haven't picked up the wins when they've needed to. They'll drop the games they should win, and then they'll fight in the games they normally think they're going to get blown out in. So they're just not a consistent team. With the Vikings being a game back, wild card 6-4, they're 5-6. Do you think they're going to sneak into the wild card somehow and make a playoffs run this year?
Yeah, I do. I think I can see kind of where you're coming from, but I personally think that with this winning streak that they're currently on, I think it's reached 4 games with their most recent victory over the Bears. But they're playing some really good football right now. You can't deny that. They are in a very tough division against those Detroit Lions, so they're obviously not even in the question to win that division. But I really think that they can. If they continue to play the way they have been, I think they have a great opportunity to sneak into the wild card. And their blessing in disguise for them right now is that Seattle Seahawks team, who I think is kind of underperforming from a season ago. So I think that that's the team that they can kind of sneak under the radar and get past. But I truly think they can. I think they're playing a lot better. I think Mason Marks does need to take better care of the football in order for them to do so, but I do think that they will figure it out on offense and they can get into the playoffs.
And now I want to talk about another fellow New York team here, the New York Jets. Delvar and his Jets, he's beaten some teams and won a few games over the past few seasons that he shouldn't have won, but for the most part, I don't know that he's ever gotten out of a top 10 draft pick in the last 6 or so seasons. So they've just been a consistently bad team, and you haven't really seen their draft picks pan out to much. But if you kind of go back and look, you'll see a lot of their picks have actually been some, not the primary positions. You'll see some offensive linemen, some defensive linemen, not the star guys, not the playmakers on the field. And I think finally that's starting to come together and pay off for them. Right now they're tied up top of the division. Normally it's the division that's easily won by the Patriots for the past few seasons, but right now the Jets are tied 5-5 with the Buffalo Bills, who actually is another team that's been really hot, with the Patriots close behind them at 4-6. But the Jets have beaten a couple contenders. They actually just upset the Chiefs, who are one of the better teams in the league, generally speaking, year in and year out. And this could be the stop to their playoff drought. Now, do you think they're going to take the division this year, or do you think it's going to end up falling back to the Patriots as it usually does?
I don't think they're going to be able to finish it. The reason why I say that is you already look at their schedule. They've already played the Patriots. They've already played the Bills once. They play them each one more time, but they lost both of those games. And each of the game that they lost, they were at home, and they gave those games away. So that's personally what I think the difference is going to be. And I'm not even going to say that I think the Patriots are going to win that division. I think they are having some issues there in New England. That defense really isn't playing very well. So I think that the Bills could possibly come back and win that division, after kind of being in an afterthought for a couple of seasons as far as the division is concerned. But I think that's where the Jets are going to falter. Like you said, they just won a fantastic game against the Kansas City Chiefs by a field goal. But like I said, they still have to face week 16 and 17, those Bills and Patriots. And I really think that that's going to be the difference for them. And eventually I think that's going to keep them out of the not only away from the AFC East championship, but out of the playoffs ultimately altogether.
And now it's the next team. Actually, the last team I'm going to talk about is kind of like you don't really know what to call it. Let's start Denver Broncos. So they've been led by their quarterback Cole Parker. This guy has been phenomenal for the past few seasons. He's just played really, really well, and he's pretty much carried this team to through the playoffs and to have the success that they have had. And then you're in the preseason and he breaks his leg. He's out for the rest of the year. So this team, they don't even have a viable backup quarterback because they don't need one. You got Cole Parker. What do you need a backup quarterback for? So they go out, they get Austin Davis, and he's able to somehow lead this Broncos team to 9-1. Now, you can say it was Davis, or most people say it's the Broncos defense, and Davis was just not clumsy with the ball. He didn't turn it over as much. But they finally picked up their first loss last week. They're 9-1 now. Is this going to be a run that they're going to be able to continue with? I mean, as they're sitting right now, they are in the lead of the division, but only by one game over the Chargers, who are 8-2 right now. But they can't even rely to fall back on the wild card, because with that being said, the Chargers are the last seed in the wild card at 8-2, and the Bengals are the other one at 8-2. So if they lose a couple more games, they're not even going to make the wild card playoffs. You think Davis is going to come up and show he's a playoff caliber quarterback and take this team into the playoffs for another season, or no?
Absolutely not. And once again, like you said, he's not that type of quarterback. Right now, they're using him and utilizing him as a game manager. But I think the thing that is going to get them into the playoffs is this defense. This defense is the real deal. Trust me, I know. That defense is good, man. They get to the quarterback. They cause turnovers. They're getting in the passing lanes. They're, doing anything and everything you could possibly think of on defense to stop every single offense that they come up against. They seem extremely, in tune with what they're doing on defense. And it's definitely showing. And like you said, when you lose somebody like Cole Parker, someone that you kind of built your offense around, you panic. But the defense said, don't worry about it, guys. We'll take care of it. We'll get you guys into the playoffs this year. And that's exactly what they're doing. And I think that they can hold on to it. Like you said, that wild card race isn't a joke either. It's going to be difficult. I think 11, possibly 12 wins is going to be what it takes to get into the wild card. And I think that they definitely can do that.
Yeah, and now the final team that I want to talk about is, there's not really been much bright spots for the Cleveland Browns, but one thing they had to take away is the running game. Torian Parker, he's leading the league in carries. He's got about 30 more carries than anyone else in the league right now, and he's only a few yards behind Jeremy Hill, who's the lead. He's got 903 for Hill, and Parker has 900 yards, and Parker has 9 touchdowns. So this is, for a team like the Browns that has just had horrible quarterback play. They drafted 2 quarterbacks this year, and it's like, it's kind of feels like it's coming out of a comedy show. They drafted 2 quarterbacks in the first round, both who can compete for the starting job. You think this team is finally going to be done from Manziel, and as soon as the season starts, one of the quarterbacks goes out, PED suspension for the year. The next one gets suspended for drugs for the entire year, and so both the starting quarterbacks are done, and it's back to Manziel. But Cleveland didn't want to go this way. They picked up another quarterback. They've had a pair of 7 interception games so far this year. It's been a train wreck for this Cleveland Browns team, and it's funny thinking about it. But Torian Parker is the lone bright spot on that team, and he's just he's running through people. Do you think that maybe next year, if one of these quarterbacks can get together to come back, the Browns are going to have any chance of actually competing, or are they going to stay in the bottom dwellers of this AFC North division?
I definitely think that they can compete, but the one thing that they're really going to have to make sure of, like you said, they gave the ball back to Mansell, not what they really wanted to do because they went out and got a couple quarterbacks in the draft. But push comes to shove, they're back to Manziel. It is what it is. But I like what they're doing. They don't trust Johnny Manziel, so they're giving the ball to Torian Parker. He's already on pace to carry the ball more times than, like you said, he's already leading the league in carries. And he's on pace to hit almost 300 carries this season, which is fantastic. This guy's averaging 4 yards per carry, 9 touchdowns, like you've already mentioned. So, I mean, this is a bright spot for this offense. So the one thing that I think that they need to do next year when they get those quarterbacks back and they decide who's going to lead this offense is they have to continue to give him the ball. They can't let those quarterbacks change what is working for them. And although they may not have the record that they really want, they may not be in the playoff picture now, I think with one of those quarterbacks, they can definitely, not turn the ball over as often as they have. And you give this guy the ball, he can get it into the end zone and he can help your team win.
All right, now the last thing I want to talk about as we wrap up, talking about the league stuff now, is actually what we're going to do in the next few days. As we're recording this, we're getting ready to leave, head off to our flights to go to Los Angeles for EA Play and E3. And just kind of, as I told you guys last time, I want to kind of just touch base with everyone here about what we're going to be doing, what to expect here. So in about 24 hours from now, we will be in LA getting ready to go to EA Play, where we will hopefully be able to get a good amount of time playing Madden 17. And as I've told you guys already, we're going to get as much gameplay footage for you as we can, if we are allowed to, of course, because they may not allow it. But regardless of that, we're definitely going to be getting interviews with as many people as we can, talking, with the Madden devs, talk about their impressions of the game, what they think are some improvements, talk about some of the new features that they're going to announce over the course of the next few days as we get to play the game. Probably, definitely, we're going to be getting the CFM blog really soon in the next couple days while we're at EA Play. So we're definitely gonna talk with some devs about that, because that's definitely what most of you guys want to hear is about the CFM and stuff. So we'll definitely get that, and just general people who play the game, we're gonna get their impressions. So you guys are definitely gonna get a really good taste of what to expect for this for the next Madden. Is there anything Fat you want to say about what else to expect?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. But obviously, myself and Tom, I know we're both really excited to have this opportunity to go out there and meet some of these developers and get an opportunity to see the game a little bit sooner than most people are. But like you said, we're going to do everything we can, not only to represent the NBL, but just to get an opportunity to pick the brain of these guys who work with this game every day and give us the opportunity to play. Like Tom said, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. We're going to get as much information as we possibly can and make sure that we share it with you guys.
Yeah. So, and as I said, when we get back, DK is also heading there with us. So when we get back, we'll probably shoot a podcast as soon as we get back, and we'll probably talk about some league stuff too. But a lot of things we'll probably dedicate to is some Madden 17 news. Talk about some of the features there. Since all of us will be playing it, we'll talk about each of our experiences with it and stuff like that. So you guys can hear about that. But anyway, that's gonna be all the time we have. We gotta finish getting ready to head out now. So as always, I thank you guys for tuning in to the Extra Point Podcast, and thank you for watching as always. And we will see you guys back here next time.